Welcome to this explainer. You know, if you've ever fired up your computer and just felt like modern desktop environments are getting way too bloated, like they're just hogging your memory and dragging down your workflow, well, you're in exactly the right place today. We're diving into a really fascinating setup derived from the FER26 XCFE Fusilli Developer Guide. It's affectionately known as the Fusilli and Rotini recipe. Think of it as this brilliant, lightweight approach to compositing engineering that literally gives you the ultimate middle ground. You get all the beautiful visual flair of a modern system, but without any of that sluggish, heavy bloat.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the source document opens with this incredibly striking statement. Fusilli is not nostalgia. Honestly, it is so tempting to look at lightweight Linux builds and think, oh, that's just a step backward, or that's just a way to keep ancient hardware out of the landfill, right? But no. This setup is absolutely about achieving bleeding-edge, modern desktop effects without sacrificing an ounce of raw speed. The developers are literally looking ahead to the year 2026 with this. It's built from the ground up for power users, developers, and modders who want peak performance and aesthetics right here, right now.
So here's today's menu for upgrading your system. 1. We'll meet Fusilli and Rotini. 2. Gathering the ingredients. 3. Testing the recipe. 4. Flawless XFCE integration. And 5. Some tweaks and final thoughts. Basically, we're going to prep the environment, cook up those terminal commands together, and add the final visual garnishes to really make it shine.
Moving right along to Section 1, meet Fusilli and Rotini, the core ingredients. Before we start cooking in the terminal, we absolutely need to know what tools we're actually working with. Let's start with Fusilli. Put simply, this is a lightweight fork of the classic Compiz compositing manager. Its main job? Bringing hardware-accelerated window compositing straight to lightweight Linux systems. So what does that actually mean for you day to day? Well, it takes a traditional, flat, kind of boring desktop and completely transforms it into a modern, visually accelerated powerhouse. And the absolute best part? It preserves your system's high performance while it does it. No lag, just smooth visuals. And this brilliantly illustrates why it's such a game changer. When you install Fusilli, you're unlocking an incredible suite of features. Real-time compositing, that famous 3D desktop cube everyone loves, incredibly fluid window animations, gorgeous drop shadows and transparency, and full GPU-accelerated rendering. I mean, just imagine getting all of these premium effects, and it barely makes a dent in your system's processing power. Now, Fusilli can't do it all by itself, and that brings us to Rotini. Think of it this way. If Fusilli is the powerful engine under the hood, Rotini is the essential paint job and trim. It acts as the window decorator. It's literally the tool drawing your window borders, managing your minimize, maximize, and close buttons, and ensuring total compatibility with XFCE. It ties the whole shebang together, giving your system that beautiful visual consistency for all those UI elements you click on 100 times a day.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, gathering the ingredients and preparing your environment. Just like baking a cake, we absolutely have to prep our workspace before we turn up the heat.
First things first, we need our base ingredients, those core backend libraries. Step 1, you're going to install Python 2.7, libwck22, Python Gobject, and Python Cairo. Once you've got those locked in, Step 2 is absolutely vital. We have to verify them. So you'll pop open your terminal and run this exact command. ldb/usr/bin/Fusilli, grep not found. And hey, don't forget, you need to run that exact same LDD command again, but swap out the word Fusilli for Rotini so we can double-check its libraries too. Now, what are we actually looking for when we hit enter? An expected result of exactly no output. Seriously, in the Linux terminal world, usually no news is fantastic news. For this specific check, seeing absolutely nothing bounce back at you is the perfect taste test. It means every single dependency ingredient is fully satisfied and you're good to go. All right, let's jump to Section 3, testing the recipe and firing up the compositor. This is the fun part, the execution phase where we actually flip the switch on our dynamic new environment. Let's move to and see how this builds in real time. Step 1, fire up your terminal and type FSM to open the Fusilli Sightings Manager. If it pops up correctly, awesome. Then exit your X session entirely by hitting Control, Alt, and Backspace. Moving to Step 2, you're going to launch terminal mode by typing xwin urxvt. And finally, Step 3, in that terminal, run Fusilli-replace. Then you'll want to open a completely separate second terminal window and run Rotini-replace.
And if you follow the recipe perfectly, boom, you are going to immediately hit these success indicators. Almost instantly, your window borders will change to reflect Rotini's sleek, custom styling. You'll suddenly realize you can drag windows around just by holding Alt and dragging your mouse. And obviously, all those beautiful desktop effects will just spring to life right in front of you. It is the ultimate visual confirmation that yes, the recipe worked flawlessly.
So let's lock this in permanently. Section 4. Flawless XFCE integration, baking it into the system. We know it looks great. Now we need to make sure it plays nicely with the XFCE4 desktop every single time you boot up.
Here's how we bake it in. Step 1. Install XFCE4, plus those recommended plugins like Whisker Menu, the Terminal, GVS, and the Volume Monitor. But listen up, because this next part is absolutely crucial. Step 2, you must completely remove libpam runtime and login. Actually, let me repeat that. Remove them. The developer's guide is super clear here. If you leave those specific user authentication components installed, they are 100% going to cause frustrating session conflicts later on. Once you've scrubbed them, step 3 is a breeze. Just restart XFCE by typing xwin start XFCE4.
Now, you definitely don't want to do all that manually every time you turn on your computer, right? So we configure the auto start. You just run a quick symlink command to create a startup shortcut. Honestly, think of this little command as the secret sauce of the entire operation. It guarantees that Fusilli and Rotini load up automatically and smoothly on every single login.
And that brings us to Section 5, Tweaks and Final Thoughts, looking specifically at the PP4MK presentation. This wraps up the guide with the developer's top-tier aesthetic and performance tweaks to perfectly finish off the dish.
Now, what's really interesting about this whole setup is how the PP4MK philosophy strikes this beautiful balance. On one hand, you have extreme speed optimization, stuff like launching your browser straight from RAM, dialing back the animation timing so everything feels razor sharp, cutting down startup services, and optimizing the XFCE panel. But then it pairs all that raw speed with these incredibly sleek visuals. We're talking custom icon themes, these really cool macOS-inspired dark layouts, and a totally minimalist, clean desktop philosophy. It's literally the best of both worlds without compromising either.
All of this effort ultimately boils down to one fantastic takeaway from the developer. Education runs faster in RAM. I absolutely love that perspective. Getting your environment to load directly into RAM, that is what makes this whole lightweight compositing project totally worthwhile for developers and modders. It's not just a neat trick. It represents a completely optimized paradigm for how we experience computing speed. Which leaves us with one final question to ponder today. In a world completely saturated with bloated operating system environments, are you ready to build a desktop that doesn't compromise on speed or style? Seriously, I highly encourage you to get your hands dirty, fire up that terminal, and try the Fusilli and Rotini recipe for yourself. It is such a rewarding way to learn. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.